Luna. Welcome to the Lunarium. So I've seen the word love bombing appear a lot on Twitter over the last few days, and as far as I can tell, it's because of something that happened on TikTok. Apparently, some TikTok posted that she went on some dates with this guy who ghosted her. And he worked at West End, so she called him West End Caleb. Soon, other girls were duetting or making their own videos saying that they'd also been ghosted by West End Caleb. And I know, so what, right? People get ghosted all the time. Welcome to dating in the 21st century. Except, these girls were alleging that this ghosting was a form of abuse. Soon, West End Caleb was trending on Twitter, and this whole story became part of the public discourse. One of the reasons why these girls claim that West End Caleb abused them is because they claim he engaged in something called love bombing. I'll let this TikTok I found explain.
So the hashtag West End Caleb is literally going viral on TikTok right now. And it's because this one man is love bombing every girl and then literally ghosting them. And he's on all these dating apps and he's messaging girls, love bombing them, sending them amazing Spotify playlists, and then either ghost them immediately before the date or after a few dates.
As someone who has actually experienced love bombing, this TikTok makes me cringe so hard. Making a Spotify playlist for someone is not love bombing. Love bombing isn't just when someone does something nice or romantic for you but doesn't actually care about you. But because these girls are treating it that way, people are treating the word love bombing as if it's a joke. So you get tweets like this one. Or this. Or this one. But love bombing isn't silly. It's a serious psychological term that has legitimate significance for survivors of abuse and domestic violence. So today we're going to talk about what love bombing is and how you can recognize it. Love bombing is a form of psychological manipulation that abusers use in order to make their victims more susceptible to abuse. Love bombing involves overwhelming the victim with lavish praise, gifts, declarations, etc. in the early stages of a relationship. BetterHelp.com says, unlike genuine displays of affection, this occurs purely for the purpose of distracting you from character flaws, establishing a toxic dynamic in the relationship, and ultimately maintaining control over your life. In many regards, it is almost a sort of grooming. Abusers often use many of the same tools in order to manipulate, control, and abuse their victims. I'm not sure how they all learn that these techniques are effective. Is it modeled behavior from childhood? Is it something they learned from TV? Trial and error? I don't know. I like to think of it as the abuser's toolkit. I don't know where these people find these toolkits, but they all pretty much have the same tools inside, and love bombing is just one of those tools. It's often the first tool that abusers use because it lowers the victim's defenses and establishes a form of dependence. In a New York Times article, psychology professor Paul Eastwick said, in cases of love bombing, attention flows in a single direction. One person tries to become the other's whole world. Because once the abuser is the victim's whole world, then the abuser can treat the victim however they want. Now, let's look at some signs of love bombing. First, we have over-the-top gifts. Love bombers give extravagant gifts in order to make you feel as if you owe them something, and also to make it more likely that you'll stay with them. These can be actual gifts, or they can even be promises of gifts. For example, my abuser had no money, but he was always promising me that as soon as he could access money, that he would buy me a mansion and a Lexus. The idea that my abuser wanted to buy me expensive gifts made it more difficult for me to recognize that I was being abused. Next, we have being over-complimentary. I'm not talking about saying you're pretty. I'm talking about saying you're pretty 50 times in one day. Or saying you're the most attractive person in the world, which can't be true because Beyonce exists. Healthline says that some of the common compliments are, I love everything about you, or you're the only person I want to spend time with. My abuser said that I was perfect. As someone who's felt insignificant and inadequate all of her life, that kind of compliment was intoxicating and blinded me to a lot of my abuser's flaws. Next, we have wanting all of your attention. This can look like getting upset when you spend time with other people, blowing up your phone when you're not together, or wanting to be together literally all the time. This overwhelms you and doesn't give you any chance to take some space and consider any red flags in the relationship. My abuser hardly left my side, starting as soon as our relationship began. And when we were apart, they texted me constantly, saying that they wished that we were together. Next, we have mirroring. Love bombers will try and mirror everything about you, from your likes and dislikes to your very personality. This disguises the abuser's true personality and also makes it more likely that you'll form a bond with him. For this one, think of Hans from Frozen. Hans is able to mirror Anna so well that they sing an entire song where they're in sync.
I mean, it's crazy.
What?
We finish each other's
Sandwiches.
That's what I was gonna say.
No, it wasn't, Hans. No, it wasn't. Next, we have trying to convince you that you're destined to be together. This could look like saying you're soulmates or that God designed you for them. For example, my abuser told me that they had had a vision of me when they were a child and that they'd been looking for me their entire life. This made me feel like I was incredibly special and that our love was meant to be, which again made it really hard to leave later on when the further abuse started. Next, we have rushing into commitment. Often love bombers want to take serious steps right away or really early in the relationship, such as rushing into taking vacations together or moving in together or getting married. This is an attempt to tie you to the abuser so that it makes it harder for you to leave, sometimes legally. My abuser asked to be in a relationship and meet my parents during our first date. My dad was not pleased when I called and asked him to meet my new partner, I can tell you that. Finally, we have saying I love you very early in the relationship. This is an attempt to fast-track an emotional bond and create a sense of reciprocity. My abuser said, I love you on our first date, even though we hadn't really spent any time together before that day. Even though I didn't say it back, it made me feel so guilty that I didn't, that it pushed up the time that it took for me to say I love you, whereas normally it would take me a while. This also changed how quickly I felt dependent on my abuser. Now, you may be thinking, my partner did some of these things and we have a perfectly healthy relationship. And that's probably true. One of the reasons why love bombing is so insidious is that its behaviors can mimic what happens when someone gets carried away with strong feelings at the start of a romantic relationship. After all, Hollywood glamorizes grand, sweeping gestures and moving into being serious really quickly. And for a lot of us, that's what we think romance looks like. One of the big differences, though, between love bombing and getting carried away with romantic feelings is intent. An abuser uses love bombing techniques intentionally in order to pave the way for abuse. Another difference is that abusers use love bombings and the other tools in their toolkit in order to get you to form a trauma bond with them. A trauma bond is when a victim feels emotionally dependent on an abuser. This happens in cults and prisoners of war as well. Once you have formed a trauma bond with the abuser, the love bombing stops. No more lavish gifts, no more over-the-top praise, no more grand sweeping gestures, possibly not even pushing you to take further steps in the relationship. All of that just goes away, sometimes overnight. By that time, you're already feeling trapped in a relationship with someone who seems completely different than the person that you first met. So, how can you protect yourself from love bombing? First of all, trust your instincts. If something feels off about someone, investigate why that is. Similarly, if someone seems too good to be true, they might just be. Second of all, stay vigilant and stay on guard for problematic behaviors. Third, Remember that abusers come in every gender, as do abuse victims. And fourth, if you have concerns, run them by an outside party, like a friend or a therapist. Lastly, remember that if you are the victim of love bombing or abuse, it's not your fault, and there are resources that can help. I will put links in the video description down below of resources that help people with intimate partner violence. But remember that you always need to stay safe. Be careful about researching said resources on a device that your abuser can access. Okay, everyone, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. It would really mean so much to me. Until next time, bye.